Hello, everyone. My name is Beata. I'm an immigration attorney at Minsky, McCormick, and Halligan in Chicago. And today is a very exciting day for immigrants and immigrant advocates like myself. Today, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that DACA can stay, at least for now. The good news is that the decision, again, reinstates DACA as it was implemented by the Obama administration in 2012. The bad news is that it still opens the door for the Trump administration to cancel DACA in the future. So let me explain. The decision, which honestly surprised, I think, most immigrants and most immigration advocates, addressed a very narrow question. It did not address whether or not DACA is a good policy, whether or not it should or should not continue. It addressed whether or not the Trump administration had a good reason to cancel it. And the decision, in a 5-4 decision, says that the Trump administration did not have a good enough reason. In fact, the reason that was stated by the Trump administration for canceling DACA was arbitrary and capricious. In essence, it wasn't done the right way. They didn't give a good enough reason to cancel it. So what happens now is that the Trump administration, in order to cancel the program, if it wants to, which we know that they do, has to articulate a better reason. The reason that was initially given was that President Obama, when he created the program in 2012, did not have the authority to create the program. And again, the Supreme Court held that that is simply not a good reason, that is an arbitrary and capricious reason to cancel the program. In fact, President Obama did have the authority to do that. But again, now Trump can articulate a different reason, which will have to be considered by the lower courts and possibly by the Supreme Court again, as to whether or not a different reason can be a good enough reason to cancel the program. So again, the good news is today, DACA continues in its format as it was in 2012. The bad news is it can still be canceled in the future, and it will take Congress to fix this problem, to give legal status to individuals who were brought to the United States as children. And so we obviously don't know whether Congress will act, and if they do act, what kind of immigration reform they would pass in order to help these DACA and DACA eligible immigrants. But again, as of right now, the good news is DACA will continue in its form as it was in 2012. So I wanted to really just touch on, because I know everybody has questions, what does that mean for you? Okay. If you're currently on DACA and your DACA has not yet expired, just like before, you can still renew it. Now, you can renew it before the 6-month period before the expiration of your DACA, or after. We recommend filing at least 6 months early to make sure that you don't have any gaps in DACA approval and in work authorization. But again, the good news is that if you are on DACA, you can renew it just like you have been before. Again, we don't know how long this will last. We don't know if the Trump administration will at some point articulate a better reason. But for now, and probably for at least the next few months, as this continues to go through the courts, you will be able to renew your DACA if you have it. If you've previously had DACA, but you let your DACA expire, again, you can renew it. Again, similarly, we don't know until when, but for now, you are able to renew your DACA even if it had previously expired. What's really exciting is that if you've never had DACA, you were either discouraged or scared to apply, or you couldn't afford it, and maybe now you can afford it. This opens the door for new DACA applications by people who are eligible for DACA, but who never previously filed for it, which for the last few years was not possible. So that's really exciting, because there are hundreds of thousands of you out there who are eligible for DACA, who've been in the United States since 2007, who have a high school degree or a GED or served in our military, who don't have any sort of disqualifying crimes. You're good people. You can now file for DACA again, for the first time, I mean. So that's really exciting, and that's a change. Now, I should say that the USCIS has not yet announced that they will be accepting new DACA applications, but I think the attorneys in our firm, attorneys through various other firms nationwide, have read the decision. We've read the other decisions, and it seems pretty unanimous that we agree that new filings should now be permitted again. USCIS should make an announcement to this effect in the coming days, possibly later today. But again, since the decision was just issued this morning, this is brand new, and they're probably drafting a statement to be issued later. Now, what's less clear is advance parole. So when President Obama issued DACA in 2012, it also allowed for certain DACA beneficiaries to apply for advance parole, a permission that would allow them to travel outside of the United States and then return. This is a discretionary benefit. And again, the decision today basically reinstates DACA as it was in 2012, which arguably includes the possibility of applying for advance parole to travel abroad. But however, since this is a discretionary benefit, it depends on the individual having a compelling reason to travel abroad. I think it's less clear whether or not USCIS will continue to accept advanced parole applications in the same way that they used to, or if they can issue maybe more restrictive guidance on which applicants can apply, what actually amounts to a compelling reason to travel abroad. So again, I think it's pretty clear that individuals can apply for DACA, new DACA, even if they've never had it. I think what's less clear is whether or not they'll be able to apply for advanced parole to travel abroad in the same way that they had between 2012 and 2017. Now, finally, does the decision mean that DACA recipients will ultimately get a green card or citizenship? Unfortunately, no. This decision does nothing to change the law in terms of offering any kind of path to green card or citizenship for DACA recipients. It simply reinstates DACA in the way that it was in 2012 for the time being. Again, until or if the Trump administration issues a better or more compelling reason to cancel it, the program should exist in the same way that it did for that 5-year period between 2012 and 2017, which means that it would grant temporary retrieval from deportation and work authorization, but does not on its own lead to a green card or citizenship. Now, this opportunity, this time, is ripe for DACA recipients or individuals who are going to be applying for DACA for the first time to consider whether or not they're eligible for other options. Now, I realize that sounds a little ridiculous, because the reason why so many individuals rely on DACA is because they probably don't have another path to legalizing their status, to gaining permanent residency or citizenship. But I've come across many of you who are not aware of the options available. You are not aware that there are paths to a green card if you've been the victim of a crime or trafficking, or through employment, or through certain family members. So I encourage you to take this opportunity. You've now been given months, if not years more, during which time you're going to be able to have DACA. And during that time, work with an immigration attorney to figure out if there is something else that can be done for you. It does not rely on simply getting married to a citizen. That is a myth. There are other ways of legalizing your status. And I'm specifically speaking to all of you, who have jobs where your employer has perhaps offered to help you before. Take this as an opportunity to find out if that may be a path for you. Everyone does not necessarily qualify for an employment-based green card, but some of you will. And I've spoken about this extensively in the past. Please reach out to me. There are some of you who will be able to legalize your status again through other ways, not just through marriage to a citizen. And I really want you to take advantage of this opportunity to talk to an immigration attorney about, again, whether there's other family members who can sponsor you, whether you can sponsor yourself because you've been the victim of crime, perhaps, or if you have extraordinary ability, you're particularly talented in your field, or again, if you have an employer who is willing and interested in helping you and sponsoring you. If you fall into one of those categories, you really need to take this opportunity, talk to an immigration attorney, and find out if you can finally and permanently legalize your status as we wait on Congress to fix this problem. So again, very exciting news today. I'm thrilled for all of you, and I encourage you to reach out to an immigration attorney to find out if you're eligible to renew your DACA, and again, if there's something else that you can do to permanently legalize your status. Thank you.